Infinite flow+decisive killing+chat groups+layout+IQ online. The unknown darkness enveloped the entire blue star, and Chen Yun was dragged into a maze survival game. In the game, it is necessary to constantly collect materials to strengthen oneself and one's place of belonging. Every once in a while, different monsters will be refreshed to kill players. Fortunately, Chen Yun was pulled into the management group and became familiar with all the game rules and unknown risks. Administrator number 1. 1000 is the selected number for this game, which contains rewards for special items. Chen Yun received a divine weapon that can be upgraded against the heavens at the beginning of the game. Administrator 2. The location for refreshing rare resources has been marked on the map. While other players were struggling for a bottle of water, Chen Yun had already lived a comfortable life. Administrator 3. The weaknesses of the maze boss are so hidden that no one will know. After speaking, Chen Yun had already killed the boss and received the final reward. Chapter 1. Special Numbers. You are listening at novel-full.audio. Beep. A piercing sound of electric current echoed in Chen Yun's ear. He suddenly sat up and looked around cautiously. But everything around seemed to be shrouded in endless darkness, with no visible light. When the harsh sound came to an end, dim lights lit up overhead. Chen Yun covered his eyes with his hand, adapted to the lighting, and looked around again. There were hundreds of people lying on the ground around him, all of whom sat up slowly, looking at everything around them in confusion, accompanied by piercing sounds. Looking further away, there are walls made of steel, with a few meters wide exit in the middle of the wall. The walls are carved with abstract reliefs, especially in the central position, filled with various monsters. These monsters have different expressions, entangled with each other, as if killing each other or snuggling up to each other. A cold voice echoed overhead. Welcome to the land of extreme, you are all chosen children. Here, you will experience various games until you complete the final evolution. This game is a memory maze, with a duration of 7 days. Each player can choose a place of belonging, and at the same time, you will receive a health template where the data represents everyone's physical condition. The difficulty level of the game is normal, and at regular intervals, different mission items and unknown dangers will be activated. At the end of the game, living players can take the acquired items out of the game as the basis for the next round of the game. Friendly reminder, the higher the number of the place of belonging, the closer it is to the central area. Finally, I wish everyone a pleasant journey. After listening to this passage, Chen Yun furrowed his brow. Half a month ago, an unknown darkness enveloped the entire blue star, and a line of characters suddenly appeared in the sky. Welcome to the extreme land, evolution will begin in half a month. Humanity began to panic, and various countries began to resist with their most advanced weapons, but to no avail. The darkness has not disappeared. Unexpectedly, half a month later, Chen Yun was transported to this unknown space and started some games. Suddenly, a huge roar sounded in the center of the room. A high platform slowly rises, with many transparent round balls the size of palms placed on it. Chen Yun clearly saw a button above the ball, with a number marked below it. Suddenly, a young girl slowly stepped back, shaking her head, not believing that everything had happened to her, with a frightened expression on her face, screaming and running towards a distant exit. Chen Yun shook his head. In this unknown space, whether what was said earlier was true or false, staying calm is the key to survival. Sure enough, as the girl ran towards the exit, a huge web formed by countless rays of light suddenly emerged, blocking her path. The girl had no time to react and her body pierced through the huge net. Then, a chilling sound of cutting sounded. Blood splattered, and the girl's body had turned into small fragments. The dozens of people following immediately stopped and let out waves of retching. Players without a bound place of belonging are prohibited from entering the maze. The sound of the system echoed above. Chen Yun's eyes were shocked, and the death of the young girl completely shattered his imagination. Now it seems that the only way to survive is to pass the game. His gaze returned to the pile of transparent balls. A few minutes later, hundreds of people stood around the high platform again, but no one dared to step forward. Suddenly, the sound of the system echoed in Chen Yun's mind. The red tester invites you to join the group. Do you agree? A choice of agree/disagree appeared in front of him. Chen Yun did not hesitate at all and immediately chose to agree. He was curious about what this tester was. Congratulations on joining the trial group and becoming a yellow tester. A light blue chat interface appeared in front of Chen Yun. The dialog box on the left and different colored names on the right. There is only one person in red, number 1. There are 3 people in orange with their numbers written on them. There are 20 people in yellow, and Chen Yun has been assigned to the 23rd. At this point, a paragraph appeared in the chat box on the left. Number 1. This game has 3 orange testers as my assistants. If there are any questions that the yellow testers don't understand, you can ask them. Number 2. Although the difficulty of this game is slightly higher, there are a total of 500 players. After 7 days of elimination, some players should enter level 1 evolution. Each yellow tester should pay more attention to the players and record the outstanding player's performance. Number 4. This is the blueprint for this maze. You can create some trouble for the players, but remember, our goal is evolution, not slaughter. Chen Yun's eyes lit up and he said, "Wow, really nice guy. Did he enter the GM management group with a card bug?" Looking at the maze blueprint in front of Chen Yun, his heart was filled with joy. With this blueprint, his chances of survival would greatly increase. At this point, everyone has reached the edge of the high platform, ready to choose their place of belonging. Chen Yun's gaze fell on the ball with a higher number. As mentioned earlier, the numbers at the front will be closer to the central area. Those who have played games know that there is a higher chance of refreshing items in the central area, and only with resources can they survive. Chen Yun's eyes quickly turned, and finally, not far from him, he found the ball with the number 1. He didn't even think about it, he reached out and grabbed it directly. Many people have also seen number 1, but they have already slowed down Chen Yun's thinking of taking action. Suddenly, Chen Yun withdrew his hand because he had received an important message in the group. Number 1000 is the selected number for this game, which includes rewards for special items. At this moment, someone had already taken the number 1 ball and looked at Chen Yun with a look full of mockery. What's this silly kid thinking? Don't even want the easily obtainable number 1. I think he's just a fool. He didn't even hear the rules clearly. Who wouldn't know that the best item to refresh is near the center? Don't worry about him. We just need to get the number at the top. This kind of person doesn't live long. Subsequently, Chen Yun's actions were accompanied by loud laughter from others. He crouched down and picked up a ball that had been casually discarded on the ground. The number is obviously 1000. Brother, I agree with your point of view now. This person is just a fool. How much water is in his mind? Choose number 1000, he can survive for a day, and I recognize him as my adoptive father. Chen Yunxiang suppressed his ecstasy and looked at the people around him, with a cold smile flashing at the corner of his mouth. I really look forward to seeing the exciting expression on my face when I receive the special item. At this moment, the message from the trials group quickly popped up. What? Did someone really take the number 1000? This luck is simply against the sky. Tianhu started the game, and this is going to beat everyone up. Number 1. Quickly find his detailed information. The probability of obtaining a special number will evolve. Seeing this, Chen Yun was not wasting time and simply pressed the button on the ball. Only opportunities for rapid development and survival will increase. Chapter 2. Upgradable Artifacts. You are listening at novelfull.audio. A wave of dizziness filled his mind. Chen Yun suddenly disappeared in place. When he opened his eyes again, he had already appeared in a small room. My family is on all sides, with a dilapidated small cabinet and a dusty box underneath. Chen Yun crouched down and eagerly opened the box. When he took out what was inside, a prompt popped up. Congratulations on obtaining the weapon Tang Dao Heiyu, Black Feather level. 1 usage. One-handed weapon attack power. 10 durability. None note. Upgradable, permanently bound at this point, the group of testers has already exploded. Boss. Boss, did you put the wrong thing? How could this incredible growth artifact appear in this game? This kind of artifact can't even be obtained by level 5 evolutionists, right? And it's still permanently bound. It's really crazy. Yeah, boss, how do you make level 5 evolutionists survive? Every 500 selected children, 1 level 1 evolutioner will appear, and 500 level 1 evolutioners will appear as level 2 evolutioners. I remember only 1 level 6 evolutioner had a weapon that could grow, but it also had a durability limit. Each repair material was exorbitant, and this weapon actually had no durability limit. Number 1. No, I don't know either. The things in the special room are all decided by the senior management, and I don't have the right to change them. What exactly does the senior management want to do? Chen Yun looked at this rusty blade. If it weren't for the shock of these testers, he would have never thought it was a divine artifact. He slightly raised the corner of his mouth, indicating that there were hardly any growth weapons available here. He had already started looking forward to this game by getting this incredible thing at the beginning. We must find a way to upgrade Black Feather. He really wants to know what this weapon will look like after upgrading. He lowered his head and found a metal ring on his wrist, with only a blue button on it. This should be the life template that the tester mentioned, right? He tried to press it once. A transparent panel is projected into the air. There are several options above. Information, Home, Channel, Friends, Skills, Pending activation. Chen Yun first clicked on Information level. 1 status. Healthy life. 110 vitality. 50 strength. 10 energy. 7 physical fitness. 11 agility. 8 hunger level. 80 out of 100 evolution degree. 0 comprehensive standard. Excellent note. The evaluation criteria are divided into inferior, ordinary, excellent, and selected by the day. Chen Yun nodded with satisfaction, and his usual fitness habits were already reflected in the data. Then, he clicked on the Place of Belonging column. Number 1000 belonging to Chen Yun durability of door. 1010 wall durability. 50/50 status. Bound upgrade status. Insufficient materials. After reviewing your own information, combine it with the discussion of the experimenter. Chen Yun obtained several useful information. First, monsters will refresh in 1 hour. Secondly, go out and collect supplies. Chen Yun looked at the dim lights outside, as if there was endless danger waiting for him. But in order to survive, we can only go out and collect supplies, otherwise food and clothing will become a problem. Fight it. Chen Yun's eyes showed a hint of perseverance. He stood up with a tang knife in his right hand, gathered his courage, and walked out of the room. The light in the corridor is dim, and the distance is gray and blurry, making it difficult to see clearly. There are also houses around his place of belonging, but some of them do not have numbers on them. Chen Yun tentatively knocked on the door, but no one answered. He boldly twisted the door handle. Squeak. The piercing sound echoed in the corridor, appearing incredibly penetrating. Chen Yun's Adam's apple wriggled up and down, and he unconsciously swallowed saliva. With a faint light, he looked cautiously into the room. The decorations inside are very simple, only adding an extra bed to the belonging area. Chen Yun walked slowly to the bedside table and opened the drawer. There is only a palm-sized metal block inside. This should be what we call supplies, put them directly into our pockets. It seems that my guess is correct. A room without a number can search for supplies. When he walked out of the house, several people had already come out of their place of belonging. They gathered together and discussed countermeasures. We need to find a way to escape from here. That girl died too tragically just now, and I'm afraid we'll be the next one. That's right, it's too eerie here, completely beyond the scope of scientific explanation. Hey, look at that person. Did he take the number 1000 fool? He's coming and going, what are he looking for? Several people noticed Chen Yun's abnormal behavior. He was the only one searching room by room, forming a sharp contrast with them. Chen Yun continued to busy himself, without trying to escape with them. After entering the next room, the structure of this room is quite different from the previous one. One bed is missing, but there is an old and worn-out curtain. Chen Yun walked under the window, reached out and grabbed the curtain, suddenly exerting force. Bang bang. A sound of metal coming into contact with the ground. Chen Yun picked up the metal curtain rod on the ground. Obtain the metal pole of the garbage weapon, with an attack power of 2, a prompt pops up. He had intended to take away the curtains, but unexpectedly gained something unexpected. But it's really a garbage weapon. What's the use of a hollow metal rod? Suddenly, a room marked with a few red dots appeared in Chen Yun's mind. Through peeping through the screen, Chen Yun knew that the tester had started refreshing rare resources. He carefully identified the map and slightly raised the corner of his mouth. At the corner not far from me, a red dot appeared, and the other red dots were far away from me. Chen Yun dared not delay and walked out of the room with worn-out curtains and metal poles. At this moment, two people walked towards each other and saw Chen Yun walking out of the room, still holding something in his hand. They were also taken aback. One of them said, "Brother, can we team up? We can also have some support when we're together." Chen Yun glanced at the two of them, shook his head, walked around them, and hurriedly walked outside. In such a place, the dangerous ones may not necessarily be monsters, but also people around them. With his cautious personality, he will not easily team up. What kind of thing to put on? I don't know for sure. Another person spat at Chen Yun's back. Chen Yun has no time to deal with them, his mind is now filled with rare resources. In the following rooms, he patiently searched one by one and dared not show any signs of urgency. There are several rooms in the middle that already have people, just skip over. As he watched his position gradually approach the red dots on the map, his heart was beating faster and faster. Steady. Be sure to stabilize. We cannot let the experimenter see any clues. After searching the last room in the corridor, Chen Yun's pocket had become bulging. It seems like they are all useless things. Cotton curtains, paper shells, half of chalk, plastic bottles, and even a piece of broken glass. Chen Yun looked at the exit in front of him and walked quickly inside. He looked around and saw a dim corridor, no different from where he had walked. When Chen Yun saw the third room in the corridor, his heart sank. The figures in the room were shaking, indicating that someone was already inside. And that room is exactly the room for rare resources. Chapter 3. Competition for Space Bags. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chen Yun took a few steps quickly, and when he saw the situation inside the house, his scalp tingled. I saw a corpse lying in the center of the room, with the blood stains all around drying up. Two people inside were walking outside, cursing, bad luck, and obviously not finding any supplies. The leader is a tall and burly man with a face full of flesh and well-developed muscles. He doesn't look like a good person, but the key is holding a brand new steel knife in his hand. In the early stages of being a beginner, players do not have weapons, and this steel knife is definitely a crushing presence. Coupled with the muscular man's fierce appearance, they can walk horizontally here. A muscular man followed a man with pointed lips and monkey cheeks, and when he saw the rusty tang sword in Chen Yun's hand, he looked disdainfully and said, "Big brother, the broken blade in that kid's hand looks like garbage, it's really incomparable to the steel knife in your hand." The muscular man said proudly, "Don't compare any trash to my steel knife. Do you think anyone can have my luck? This knife was just snatched from a young girl's hand by him, and he also seized her territory. Now the girl is still tied to the bed by him." Thinking of her graceful figure, the muscular man's face shows a hint of lewd laughter. Chen Yun gave them a cold glance and walked towards the room. Looking around with a frown, the room had already been turned upside down by the two of them. So where are the rare items? When he saw the body under his feet, his face changed. Does the tester have any special habit of brushing rare items under the corpse? Chen Yun bit his back teeth, squatted down, and inserted a metal rod under the body. Suddenly, he exerted force and flipped the body aside. A golden light flashed through, and beneath the corpse was a palm-sized bag. As Chen Yun grabbed the bag in his hand, a prompt popped up. Obtain a beginner space bag with a capacity of 20 squares. The message in the trials group once again dominates the screen. Is this Chen Yun cheating? How could the space bag appear here? Many veteran players can't get it, right? Yeah, this thing is a divine tool for collecting materials in the early stage. Boss, what's going on? Number 1. I didn't know, this kid's luck is simply against the sky. At this moment, the muscular man standing at the door did not walk far. When he saw the golden light flashing by, he shouted sternly. "Take out the things, you dare to snatch my things." Chen Yun looked at the muscular man with a grim expression and sneered, "After you went out, how did the thing I found become yours?" The mischievous little brother walked into the house and pointed at Chen Yun's nose, cursing. "Little kid, where's all that nonsense coming from? Hurry up and take it out, don't lose your life here just because of some supplies." The players in the hallway gathered around to watch the noise. "What's going on? Isn't that the fool who took 1,000 numbers? This person has a lot of courage and dares to challenge that muscular man. Watch it, that fool is going to have bad luck today." The steel knife in the muscular man's hand looks terrifying. Upon hearing the voices of discussion around him, the muscular man became even more arrogant and raised his steel knife, pointing at Chen Yun and cursing. "I'm in a good mood today. Leave your things here and get out of here quickly." Chen Yun squinted his eyes and said, "What can you do if I don't take it out?" The muscular man's face suddenly turned cold, revealing a fierce expression. "If you really want to die, then don't blame me." Raising his sword and chopping at Chen Yun's head, the onlookers were frightened and screamed. Unexpectedly, the muscular man dared to strike someone. There was a hint of coldness in Chen Yun's eyes, and it was obvious that the muscular man had taken the killer. Looking at the howling cold light above his head, he raised his black feather to face the steel knife. A smile appeared on the muscular man's face, as he dared to harden his own sword with that broken blade. "Little trash, go to hell," the muscular man cursed fiercely. Bang bang. With the sound of metal falling to the ground, Chen Yun's tang knife kept cutting towards the muscular man's neck. His younger brother laughed and said, You dare to be tough with my older brother, your little blade." Halfway through, the arrogance on his face slowly turned into shock. I saw that the steel knife in the muscular man's hand had already broken in two, and he was covering his neck, his eyes wide open, pointing at Chen Yun and unable to speak. After a moment, blood splattered. The muscular man fell to the ground, convulsed a few times, and became a corpse. The onlookers immediately screamed and ran towards the outside, seeing with their own eyes that the impact of the person's throat being cut was too great. "Ah! I killed someone." The muscular young man was the first to run out of the room, nowhere to be found. Chen Yun looked at the muscular man's body, although his face was a bit pale, there was no trace of guilt. To survive in this eerie game, competition is inevitable. "This is the first person I killed myself," but definitely not the last one. Kill the target and gain 10 experience points. The pop.up prompt pulled Chen Yun back to reality. Chen Yun found that the green progress bar of the level has exceeded half. Ironically enough, killing can still escalate. This game is getting increasingly eerie. Looking at the Tang Dao in his hand, Chen Yun nodded with satisfaction. The sharpness of the blade far exceeded his expectations, making it a growth artifact. Open your own information and add an option for a space bag. He took out the broken glass from his pocket, and with a thought, the broken glass disappeared out of thin air and appeared in the space bag. Then Chen Yun walked quickly towards the end of the corridor, wanting to test the limits of the space bag. Walking to a half-person high workbench, he stopped in his tracks. I just discovered this thing while collecting supplies. When he touched the machine, a prompt popped up. Discovering synthesizers that can be used to make items and equipment. However, this synthesizer is a bit far from its place of belonging and is a waste of time. Time is everything now. If Chen Yun's mouth showed a hint of cunning. Hold on to the workbench and let your mind wander. The synthesizer disappeared out of thin air and appeared in the space bag. Haha, the space bag is so awesome, it's a magic weapon. The synthesizer was originally intended for public use here, but when it entered the space bag, it became Chen Yun's personal item. Organizing his supplies, Chen Yun looked at the bloodstains on his hands and walked straight to the bathroom. Turn on the faucet and wash away the blood stains on your hands. A broken mirror on the wall reflects Chen Yun's delicate face. In his 20s, he has sharp facial features and short hair, making him very capable. Suddenly, Chen Yun looked through the mirror and saw a white paper stuck on the roof. Wild geese plucking their feathers has become his habit. Pick up the metal pole and take off the white paper on the roof. Discovered upgraded formula for level 2 wooden doors. Wood plus nails *10 plus 1 level wooden door, discovered armor formula wrist guard. Metal plus wood plus cotton cloth, the experimenter mentioned making a recipe, which is a rare and good thing. By looking at the materials in the space bag and the lack of nails, we can make the ingredients in the recipe. Make sure to make these two things before the monster refreshes. Chen Yun still hasn't figured out what evolution in the tester's mouth means. But he knows that upgrading one's place of belonging and strengthening oneself are the key to survival. Chapter 4. I Can Live With You. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chen Yun found a box of iron nails and walked back according to the map in his mind. Now he knows the meaning of the memory maze. The corridors and facilities here are no different. Walking around randomly can easily lead to getting lost and finding no place to belong, leaving only a dead end. At this point, the options for player group chat keep flashing. After Chen Yun clicked on it, most of it was about him killing someone just now. The madman who belongs to number 1000 has killed someone. Stay away from him in the future. What? Murder, how could it be? I saw it with my own eyes and even took pictures. A player uploaded a picture of Chen Yun standing next to a muscular man with a knife. However, within the management group, the opposite is true. Not bad, Chen Yun is indeed the chosen son of heaven, ruthless and decisive in his actions. Becoming the first player to kill in this game, I have great confidence in him. They are already in a competitive relationship, and they will gradually adapt to the madness of extreme places. Upon seeing these, Chen Yun's face sank like water. These testers were simply a group of lunatics, and even after death, they could still be so excited. But it also made him more aware of the cruelty of this game. Chen Yun walked up to the synthesizer and threw the material for the wrist guard in according to the blueprint. Started making armor and wrist protectors with a success rate of 90%, currently in production. Is there still a success rate? Chen Yun stared nervously at the synthesizer. Congratulations on successfully making the wrist guard level. Level 1 category. Armor attribute. Defense +5 strength +1 durability. 15 and 15 Chen Yun picked up the wrist guard and put it on his arm. In an instant, I felt a warm current flowing throughout my body. Not bad, it also added a bit of strength attribute. Next, it's time to upgrade the wooden door. Chen Yun walked to the door with the materials in hand. Upgrading wooden doors only requires holding the drawings and materials, and there will be a prompt when approaching. Your materials have met the upgrade requirements. Do you want to upgrade? Yes. After a moment, a green progress bar appeared in front of Chen Yun. Upgrade completed, wooden door level. 2 defense. 10 durability. 30/30ths note. Reparable, requires wood *5 Chen Yun looked at the wooden door in front of him, which had not changed much, but had become even thicker. Looking at Tang Dao Heiyu, his heart moved and he didn't know if the synthesizer could upgrade Heiyu. Chen Yun tried to bring Black Feather closer to the synthesizer. A prompt popped up. Insufficient materials, upgrading materials requires metal plus grinding stone plus dark liquid. Chen Yun looked at the upgrade materials with a bitter face. The first two were understandable, but he had never heard of what the dark liquid was. I have tasted the sweetness of Heiyu and must find the upgrade materials as soon as possible. Chen Yun had a goal, swept away his slump, and stood up again to walk towards the door. When someone saw Chen Yun holding a bloodstained Tang Dao, they turned around and ran. And send Chen Yun's photo and coordinates to the group chat. Seeing the news in the group chat, Chen Yun felt a bit annoyed. It doesn't matter if you are labeled as a murderer, it can also deter other players. But in group chat, location can be shared, and now everyone knows the location of their dormitory. This is not a good omen. If you're not afraid of thieves stealing, you're afraid of thieves thinking. It wouldn't be good if someone else stole your house. Chen Yun waved his tang knife in frustration, took out chalk, and marked his passage on the wall. Of course, these are just for the experimenter to see. He has already marked the route he took on the maze map. Suddenly, a prompt box pops up. Player Zhang Qianxue, belonging to number 502, applied to add friends. Chen Yun did not pay attention to this prompt. Now that he has carried the label of a villain, what good can he do to find himself? He continued to wander through various rooms, putting the collected supplies in the space bag. But this message keeps popping up, almost overlapping together. Chen Yun frowned slightly. Is there really something wrong? He clicked agree. An additional avatar named Zhang Qianxue appears in the friend interface. Are you Chen Yun, player number 1000? What's up? There are a few sneaky people outside of your place of belonging, and I feel like they are going to belong to you underground. Chen Yun felt a thump in his heart. What are he really afraid of? Is there really someone stealing a house? Unable to continue talking to Zhang Qianxue, he turned around and ran towards his place of belonging. A few minutes later, we arrived at the corridor where we belonged. Sure enough, there were a few people standing in front of the door discussing something. Chen Yun shouted loudly, "Hey, what are you doing?" A few people were startled and saw Chen Yun running over with a fierce expression on his face. They were frightened and scattered, disappearing into the depths of the corridor. Chen Yun ran to the door and saw the intact door, which allowed him to take a deep breath. Then he glanced anxiously at his place of belonging. Although I scared away that group of people just now, what should I do next time? At this moment, a gap opened in the belonging room door diagonally opposite. A somewhat handsome woman poked her head out and saw that there was no one in the hallway before walking towards Chen Yun. The woman had long hair scattered behind her, dressed in a professional suit, with tight buttons on her chest. As she walked, waves surged. She looked at Chen Yun's slightly raised Tang Dao and looked at herself with caution. Hurriedly stopping, he timidly said, "Chen Yun, I am Zhang Qianxue. I just informed you, and I have no ill intentions." Chen Yun frowned slightly. The woman looked very shrewd, and he had already vaguely guessed her purpose. "Oh, thank you very much. Zhang Qianxue stroked her hair in her ear and said with a charming tone, "We are all neighbors, it's only right to help each other." Chen Yun nodded, just looking at her coldly, waiting for her to say her purpose. Zhang Qianxue was also taken aback. How could this man be different from the old pervert she encountered, completely puzzled by his charm? As a qualified assistant to the chairman, she knows very well how to capture men's hearts. The men I had met before, seeing their beautiful appearance, had already come to ask for warmth and comfort. From the beginning of the game until now, she has never dared to come out. Just now, when she heard the commotion outside the door, she was surprised to find that the wooden door across from her had changed through her cat's eye. Thinking of the Tang sword, wrist guard, and upgraded wooden door that Chen Yun was holding in his hand, she understood that this was meeting a big shot. Zhang Qianxue looked at the other side with some excitement. Since the place of belonging can be upgraded, this game definitely has unexpected dangers. As a white-collar worker, her physical fitness is average. And here, there is a lot of crisis, and it's possible that other men might have taken it before they could collect the supplies themselves. Zhang Qianxue understands her situation very well. What she needs now is a thigh that she can hold, and Chen Yun meets her requirements. She kept observing the movements on the other side, and when she saw a few people appearing outside Chen Yun's place of belonging, she knew that the opportunity had come. I just found Chen Yun's profile picture in the group chat and kept applying for friends. Looking at Chen Yun across from her, Zhang Qianxue lightly bit her vermilion lips and said, "Can I become your teammate?" "Teammate? What can you do?" Zhang Qianxue heard Chen Yun's tone loosen slightly, with a shy expression on her face. She walked up to him and hugged his arm on her chest. "You can do whatever you want, I can live with you." Chapter 5. Monsters on the First Day. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chen Yun withdrew his arm and said coldly, "You misunderstood. I don't want this kind of teammate. Alright, we can work together. When I'm out, you can help me keep an eye on my place of belonging. If anyone comes to trouble, please let me know. When I come back, I can share some supplies with you." Ah. This is also okay. Zhang Qianxue didn't expect such a result, and there were men who could resist their temptation. However, it can also be considered as having some connection with the big shots, which is much safer than going out to find supplies on your own. After discussing this matter, Chen Yun turned around and wanted to continue collecting supplies. Zhang Qianxue suddenly said, "Chen Yun, I have some news that I don't know if it will be useful to you." What news? I have also seen others share that many materials can be sourced from local sources, such as dismantling tables, chairs, or wooden doors to obtain a bundle of wood. Chen Yun nodded and said, "I understand. Thank you very much." He turned around and walked outside. This news was indeed very useful, and it could be considered as an additional direction for collecting supplies. According to the map, he arrived at an area that had not been searched before. After entering the room, he waved his tang knife and chopped towards the cabinet. With the sharpness of the tang knife, the cabinet was cut to pieces with just a few strokes, and an additional bundle of wood was added to the ground, which was stored in a space bag. It is necessary to pay attention to this group chat, as the experience sharing inside is very practical. When Chen Yun walked out of the room, a few people stood in the distance and saw Chen Yun. The leader was a man with bare arms, his upper body muscles bulging, and he was holding a wooden stick about 2 meters in his hand. At this moment, his eyes were slightly narrowed, staring at Chen Yun in the distance. "Shenggu, that person is Chen Yun. Look at the knife and wrist guard in his hand. Chen Yun's current equipment is quite enviable, especially the bloodstained Tang Dao, which is currently a great weapon." Shenggu sneered and said, "The news in the group should be true. He really killed someone. Shenggu, he's alone now. Should we?" Sheng waved his hand and said, "What's the rush? It's not time to take action yet. Chen Yun looked at Xinggu and the others with malicious eyes, glanced at them, turned around and walked towards other areas, not wanting to cause unnecessary trouble. Glancing at my status information, my hunger level has increased to 74 out of 100. Take out a newly found apple from the space bag. Taking a bite, the juice flowed freely, sweet and delicious. Chen Yun closed his eyes with satisfaction. The game was made realistic enough, and apples with this taste are rare in real life. After finishing an apple, hunger has also risen to 87. Chen Yun dared not delay and continued to wander through various rooms. He obtained useful information from the group of testers. In just over 10 minutes, the monster will refresh. This game doesn't have a clock, so the concept of time is very vague. Chen Yun estimated the time, and at this point, the space bag was almost full. He quickly walked towards his destination. Along the way, I met many players without any nervousness, and Chen Yun shook his head. It seemed that on the first day, the number of people here would decrease significantly. He has no obligation to remind these people that in this game, living on his own is a luxury, and there is no energy to manage others. When Chen Yun returns to his place of belonging, the group of testers also quickly brushes the screen. Time is almost up, ready to refresh the monster. I can't wait to refresh something on the first night. Number 1. Directly refresh level 1 zombies. Many players have not returned to their home area yet, and the zombies' movement is relatively slow. These chasing projects are the favorite ones for high-level players to watch. The boss still knows the top management's thoughts. Let's see how many people can survive on the first night. As the discussion among the experimenters ended, the entire memory maze echoed with gloomy and piercing sounds. Are you ready to enjoy this wonderful moment as we embark on our first night of revelry? With the voice of the experimenter, the dim lights in the corridor turned red. For a while, before many players could react, they saw several zombies appearing on both sides of the corridor. The clothes of the zombie were in tattered condition, the bloodstains on their bodies had dried up, their faces were rotten and purulent, their pupils were pale and lifeless, and their appearance was terrifying. At this moment, he was waving his hands and stumbling towards the player. The impact on the players is too great, such scenes have only been seen in movies. Some people were so scared that they fell to the ground, widened their eyes, opened their mouths without making a sound, and couldn't believe the scene before them. The zombie had already sensed the food rushing ahead and couldn't help but quicken their pace. The carnival on the first night officially began. A woman stumbled and ran in the hallway, her face pale as she looked at the zombies chasing after her, her feet unsteady, and she fell to the ground. It was too late for the zombie behind them to stand up and escape. They extended their gray-black hands and grabbed the woman's calf, with their nails embedded in her flesh. The woman let out a scream and cried out to the man running ahead, "Husband, help me." The man with glasses turned his head, and although his eyes were reluctant, he kept walking without any intention of coming back to save someone. Amidst the woman's roar, the zombie lay on top of her, constantly tearing at her flesh and blood. The woman exerted all her strength and reached out to grab the direction where the man with glasses disappeared, her eyes full of disbelief. What is the promise of a solemn oath and unwavering commitment to death? The promised sea withers and rocks crumble, will never be abandoned. Thinking of what her husband said, the hope in the woman's eyes turned into despair. The feeling of heartbreak has far exceeded the physical pain. Suddenly, a flash of knife light flashed, and a rusty tang sword struck the zombie's head. Critical hit, target HP .52. Chen Yun withdrew his tang sword and retreated, spraying black and red blood from the zombie's brain. In his place of belonging, he saw through the cat's eye what was happening before him. Chen Yun just sighed at the woman's misbehavior, marrying the wrong person, encountering this scumbag, his wife in danger, and he turned around and ran away. I originally thought it was irrelevant and hung high, but the discussion in the trial group changed his mind. The first person to kill a zombie will receive the first kill reward. Chen Yun had a divine weapon like Black Feather in his hand. How could he miss this opportunity and rush out to attack the zombies? The zombie felt pain and let out a strange cry before getting up and rushing towards Chen Yun. Chen Yun quickly retreated, and the zombie's movements were slow, pouncing in the air. He just witnessed a zombie scratching through a woman's flesh and nails. He dare not be tough. Chapter 6. First Kill Reward. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After the zombie attack, Chen Yun raised his sword and chopped towards the zombie's arm. Target chi and blood .23 not hitting the key, the damage has been reduced by half. Chen Yun walked upstream by the zombie, seizing the opportunity to strike him and prepare to slowly grind him to death. He is not a martial arts master in the novel, and when fighting, he has no rules to speak of. He relies on his own speed to consume the health of zombies. Chen Yun's face was as heavy as water, and his eyes were full of caution. A mistake at this time may have killed him. Fortunately, his place of belonging is quite remote, and there is only one zombie in this corridor. The rest has been refreshed in the center of the maze. But the information in the player group made him feel a crisis. Brothers, zombies are not that scary. Brother Sheng teaches you to kill zombies. Here is a video just taken. In the video, Shenggu holds a wooden stick and flips it up and down, hitting the vital part of the zombie with the stick. The zombie kept barking and rushing towards Shenggu. Shenggu wandered around the zombie, appearing very leisurely with his own speed, and at first glance he was a practitioner. Do you see that joining the promotion team now can ensure your safety? The quota is limited, first come, first served. Chen Yun's heart trembled as he noticed in the video that Shenggu was wearing a very antique soft armor, which should have been obtained from the rare material refresh point. This promoted brother is definitely a formidable opponent. If it weren't for his low wooden stick attack power, he might have already killed the zombies and received rewards by now. Even worse, another zombie appeared at the end of the corridor. Chen Yun had little chance of survival from being sandwiched between two zombies. The zombie had already heard the sound of fighting here, shaking its body and walking towards it. We can't delay any longer. Chen Yun gritted his teeth and looked at the zombie rushing towards him. He suddenly lifted his left arm with a wrist guard to block the zombie's hands. The unprecedented sense of crisis stimulated his potential. Chen Yun swung his tang sword with all his might and struck the zombie's head heavily. Pushi. This powerful and heavy blow directly chopped off half of the zombie's head. Critical hit, chi and blood .68. Half of the zombie's brain was filled with red and white substances, and a foul odor filled the hallway. Target dies, gains 10 experience points. A white light flashed over Chen Yun, and he upgraded. This also caused a change in Chen Yun's attributes. Level 2 status. Healthy life. 120 vitality. 60 power. 11 energy. 8 physical fitness. 12 agility. 9 hunger level. 72 out of 100 evolution degree. 0 chi and blood increased by 20 points, yuan chi increased by 10 points, and attribute points each increased by 1 point. Chen Yun waved his arm and felt his strength become stronger. The prompt box pops up again. You have unlocked the skill slot and can equip skills. Received the first kill reward. Please collect it yourself. 3 items floated above the zombie, with Chen Yun's name written on them. It's fair to do this extreme, as the rewards after killing zombies are bound for a period of time. Unless the player gives up, others can take them away. Chen Yun received the item in the space bag and glanced at the item description. Level 1 skill card. Pianhome strike consumption. 20 points of elemental energy cooling. 20 seconds introduction. Deals 150% damage to the target and temporarily increases agility by 5 points after use. Description. Elegant as a startled swan, like a wandering dragon, humans who survive in extreme places are well versed in the principle of military superiority and speed. Novice cloak level. 2 type. Defense. 10 durability. 30 out of 30 self-equipped skill. Hidden, consumes 5 points of elemental energy, can hide for 5 seconds, cooldown time of 30 seconds. Note. Only effective on low-level zombies, attribute card function. After use, you can freely increase your own attribute by 1 point. The first kill reward is indeed rich, and in the future, you should pay more attention to the chat of this group of testers. They are simply cheating tools. Not only did I get a skill card, but that newbie cloak actually comes with its own skills. He can be very certain that it is not a top-notch equipment and definitely does not have this attribute. Equip skill cards in skill slots and wear cloaks on your body. At this point, Chen Yun has already developed some master style, and this equipment is definitely the top-ranked player. Having taken the attribute card and directly applied it to strength, damage is essential for quickly killing monsters and gaining experience. Looking at the zombie over 10 meters away, Chen Yun no longer had that sense of fear, but instead welcomed it. Let's practice your hands first. Chen Yun ran quickly towards the zombie, 2 meters away. Hidden. He fluctuated violently all over his body, and his figure became somewhat dim. The zombie was clearly stunned for a moment, lost its attack target, and stopped in the air with both hands. Nose twitching, trying to find the human through the scent. Chen Yun's mouth curved slightly, and his concealment had exceeded his expectations. In a 1.1 situation, the zombie is the lamb to be slaughtered. He took a detour behind the zombie and aimed a knife at his head. Critical hit, target HP.51. The painful zombie let out a howl and lifted its paw, wanting to turn back and attack Chen Yun. Pianhong strike. Before the zombie could turn around, Chen Yun's tang sword fell again at a strange speed. Critical hit, target HP.76. The zombie's body shook for a moment, howling and grabbing towards Chen Yun. Chen Yun stepped back and used Pianhong's one strike, which resulted in an additional 5 agility points, making his speed more than double. He did not attack around the zombies, calculating the time for additional attributes in his mind. After 10 seconds, the speed returned to normal. Chen Yun is already very satisfied with this time. As long as he has enough energy, this skill can be activated every 20 seconds, and his speed can be greatly improved within 10 seconds. Accustomed to these cards in hand, the zombie in front of me lost its function. After being stabbed, he turned into a ball of experience and fell to the ground, with a can of beverage floating in the air. Chen Yun shook his slightly sore arm and shook his head with a bitter smile. Just now, after using the general attack, he immediately used the Pianhong strike. So his second strike fell at a very eerie speed, completely unlike the attacking style that a normal human would have. Chen Yun also had a sudden idea and used his skills to cancel the back sway of the general attack. After finishing the first strike, directly activate the skill, which is equivalent to interspersing skills between regular attacks, causing high damage to the enemy in a short period of time. This is still a technique in a real-life competitive game. Unexpectedly, it also applies here. The skills are indeed good, but my physical fitness seems to be a bit behind me. The speed I just did has already exceeded my load. He put the bottle of beverage from the zombie explosion into the space bag. Functional beverages category. Restorative items function. Restores 5 points of vitality. Not bad, something that turns blue. Accidentally, Chen Yun glanced at his own attributes and suddenly widened his eyes. After the level of evolution, a green progress bar appears with the number 5% written on it. Chapter 7. Monster Brushing Upgrade and Curfew. You are listening at novel-full.audio. What's going on? Why did evolution start? Extreme land, evolution, games, zombies, collecting supplies. Chen Yun interspersed these clues in his mind. He seems to have some understanding of the evolution spoken by the tester. Developing one's own limits, evolution occurs when a threshold is reached, or when the progress bar is full. It seems that the attack method just now has triggered this level of evolution. So what will happen after evolution? The experimenter mentioned that in this game, there is a probability of a level 1 evolutioner appearing only after 500 players. The low probability of evolution also proves the cruelty of the game. Now Chen Yun only feels like there is an invisible hand behind him grabbing towards him. Only by running forward hard can he have a chance to survive. This feeling has almost suffocated him, but it has also stimulated the potential in his body. First, strive to become a level 1 evolutioner. Increasing one's own strength is the key to survival. Having made up his mind, Chen Yun sorted out the supplies in the space bag and prepared to continue searching for the experience of the fallen zombie brush. A faint moan appeared behind him. Chen Yun turned his head to look at the woman lying on the ground and walked slowly to her side. The woman was covered in scars, spitting blood foam from her mouth, her face gradually turning black, and her body was trembling uncontrollably due to severe pain. Zombies move slowly, but their attack power is not low, and they also come with toxins. The woman stared at Chen Yun with wide eyes and said intermittently, "Kill. Kill me." Chen Yun saw no hope in her eyes, full of ashes. Whether it was psychological or physical, she could not survive. Raising his Tang Dao in his hand, he said, "Don't worry, let's go. I promise you, I'll take the life of that scumbag." A glimmer of light flashed in the woman's eyes, and she nodded hard, enduring the intense pain and smiling at Chen Yun. A knife pierced through her chest, and the woman closed her eyes in relief. As a stranger, there is only so much he can do. Turning around, he left the room and began searching for the lonely zombie. At this point, in the player chat group, Shen Gu and his group have already started to woo those players, and there are also some pictures of killing zombies attached. Our senior brother is a descendant of the Lin family gun, and in reality, he can open a martial arts school to recruit disciples. Do you see that? Brother Shen, killing zombies is like playing. Join us as long as you listen and don't worry about food and drink. The quota is limited, everyone who wants to join us will gather here. A location coordinate was posted in the group. Chen Yun sneered, those who still believe these words here will definitely not live long. The resources in the maze are limited, and it's all a competitive relationship. There are no teammates left. According to the map, Chen Yun is gradually approaching the central area. The number of corpses on the ground gradually increased, and their blood scattered all over the ground. Some of their internal organs also spread out on the ground. Before reaching the extreme, Chen Yun never knew that human blood was sticky. When reaching out and stepping on it, it feels like stepping on a non-sticky glue, accompanied by the sound of smashing footsteps, and every time I lift my foot, I pull up a light red silk thread. Blood is everywhere, like the original appearance here. Many players have not found their way back to their territory and died tragically at the mouth of zombies. But as long as players return to their place of belonging, they are safe, and currently, zombies will not attack the door. From time to time, there was a scream in the corridor, and a fresh life disappeared into this maze. Chen Yunka doesn't have the energy to manage other players, he just wants to kill monsters and upgrade in his mind now. When encountering a single zombie, rely on your own speed to directly kill it. At the beginning, I was still a bit flustered and needed to use stealth to dodge some attacks. Gradually, I became familiar with the rhythm of zombie attacks and became proficient. Half an hour later, Chen Yun looked at the two corpses in front of him and took a deep breath. It's really dangerous. It's still a bit difficult to deal with two zombies now, and we need to strengthen our combat skills. If other players hear Chen Yun's exclamation, they may jump and curse. At present, there are basically no equipment available, and there are only a few people who can single out a zombie. Chen Yun is not satisfied with killing two at once. Chen Yun collected the explosive supplies, and by this time the space bag was almost full. They are all materials used for upgrading, and Chen Yun has consumed all the drinks and food, which can just restore the energy consumed. The level has also changed to level 4, and the highest among other players is Lin Sheng, who is only level 3. However, Chen Yun is very strange. He killed dozens of zombies and didn't explode a single piece of equipment. So equipment can only be made by collecting materials and using synthesizers. Players must go out to collect supplies and kill monsters to obtain them. This seems to be a perfect closed loop. Of course, it is also a dead loop. Is it to intensify the death progress of ordinary players? The first day had not yet passed, and a monster as twisted as zombies had already been refreshed. So in the next few days, it can be imagined that even if one hides in their own territory and does not upgrade the level of the door and house, they will definitely not be able to survive. Thinking of this, Chen Yun's back had already been soaked in cold sweat. He could already foresee the scene of players fighting each other for supplies in the following days. Not many humans may die in the mouths of monsters, and the ones who truly kill humans may be those around them. Chen Yun figured out this relationship, and his sense of urgency instantly filled up. There was not much time left for his safe development. The discussions in the trials group also confirmed their ideas, and they have started researching the subsequent monster refresh. Chen Yun quickened his pace and saw that no matter how many zombies there were, he rushed forward and drove straight, no longer caring about the consumption of energy. If you can't defeat it, hide and launch a surprise attack to kill one. Take the explosive materials and run away. After the skill cools down, come back and continue flying kites. After another half hour, the sound of the system echoed in the air. Congratulations to the surviving players, the first day's carnival night has come to an end. Upon hearing this heavenly-like news, most players wept with joy and finally survived their first day. The cold voice rang out again. Surviving players can rest in their own home area, and after 5 minutes, a curfew will begin. Players who do not return to their home area will be directly executed. The player group instantly exploded, and many people couldn't find their place of belonging and hid with others. This curfew directly sealed off their way of life. Big Brother, who knows the location of the location where 287 belongs? Could you please share it? Thank you very much, little brother. I'm a girl. Whoever gives me the position of 389, I can agree to all your requests. Please, boss, issue position 134. I can't die, my wife and children are still waiting for me at home. Chen Yun walked towards his hometown with Tang Dao in his hand, and the corridor was filled with players who were desperate, just like children who couldn't find their homes when they were young. However, this punishment was unacceptable to them. Chapter 8. Has hidden illness, can he not? You are listening at novelfull.audio. The map of the maze once again saved Chen Yun's life. He had already walked to the center of the maze, and without the map, he could not return to his place of belonging. After returning to his place of belonging, Chen Yun piled up the collected supplies in a corner. After an hour of fighting, he had enough supplies in a short period of time, and now what he is missing is the blueprint. He has already tried throwing materials into the synthesizer without drawings, which would only waste materials and get nothing. At this moment, Zhang Qianxue sent a message. Great God, have you come back? Chen Yun has understood the meaning behind her words. Well, don't worry, I'll give you some food and ingredients tomorrow. Zhang Qianxue bit her delicate lips. Little brother, it's a bit cold here. Can I go to your room to rest? Don't come, it's colder here. Let's rest quickly. A hint of regret appeared on Zhang Qianxue's face. This man didn't fall for any temptation, was it because his charm was not enough? She sat on the ground holding her legs, looking at her fair skin and seductive figure, unable to understand why this man didn't like her. Zhang Qianxue's place of belonging is only one cabinet, without the magical tool of a space bag. She cannot move the bed out of other rooms and can only curl up in a corner. At this moment, another piercing alarm sounded outside. The curfew has begun. Waves of screams echoed in the corridor, and many of the player group's avatars turned gray. Chen Yun didn't care about the dirt on his body and collapsed directly onto the bed. These 2 hours of high-intensity exercise have exhausted him. Recalling what happened today feels like a dream. Looking at the information discussed in the trial group, he suddenly sat up. Tomorrow, we will open some special maps. The competition among these players is not fierce enough, and there are too few players starting to evolve now. There are quite a few dead people, and there are still 289 left. However, that's enough. As long as someone can become a level 1 evolutioner, we can complete the mission. In an hour, you can see the ugliest side of human nature. I'm really looking forward to it. Chen Yun's heart moved. 1 hour later. Is the time here different from reality? Collect materials for 1 hour, kill monsters for 1 hour, and rest for 1 hour. According to this cycle, it counts as 1 day. So in 7 days, it will be 21 hours. More than 200 people had already died on the first day, and it was hard for him to imagine how many people were left on the last day. According to the experimenter, more people will die tomorrow. The rest time was only 1 hour, and Chen Yun drove all the chaotic thoughts out of his mind. The most important thing now is to rest. He even drank a bottle of sedative that the monster had exploded into. Calming potion function. Restores a large amount of mental power, making players calm. Description. An essential item in the extreme land, which has a magical effect on players who are about to go crazy. After drinking it, Chen Yun only felt a clear mind, and the anxiety, fear, and worry disappeared. The quality of materials in the extreme land is beyond doubt. If this thing were to be brought to reality, it might be taken crazy by people. Chen Yun closed his eyes and fell asleep in a daze. When he opened his eyes, he was standing in a courtyard. This courtyard looks a bit dated, with mud-yellow inferior soil walls that are very small and full of cracks. Even delicate dogtail grass grows in the cracks, and the cement under the feet cracks and doesn't look like it. At this time, it was a late summer night, and the willow trees in the yard were flourishing and verdant, swaying in the wind under the moonlight. The wind was scorching on my face, and there was a rustling sound of insects in my ears. This is Chen Yun remembered that this was the orphanage where he lived when he was young. The only difference is that in my memory, the yard was always very lively, even at night, with many children cooling off in the yard. But now it is empty, like a corner forgotten by time. Chen Yun. A woman's voice came from behind. He was startled and immediately turned around. On the cement steps at the entrance of the orphanage, stood a middle-aged woman with soft, long hair, tied up at the end, wrapped around her neck, and hanging on her left chest. At night, I couldn't see her facial features clearly. I vaguely saw her wearing a floral long dress and waving at Chen Yun. The most I got catching is the blue whistle hanging on the chest. Auntie. Chen Yun tentatively called out. This should be the dormitory aunt in the orphanage. Every time the aunt calls the children to eat, she will whistle. When all the children hear the whistle, they will obediently go to the door to gather. Auntie. Chen Yun tried to shout again and walked forward. Just as he was about to approach the woman, it was only then that he could see her face clearly, which frightened him and made him stop walking. That was a face that was extremely white, as if soaking a corpse in water for a few days, without even black pupils. At this moment, 2 rows of serrated teeth were exposed, and the whole person revealed a strange feeling. Hee, Chen Yun, you're here to accompany me. A pale hand grabbed his cheek. Chen Yun wanted to dodge, but no matter how hard he tried, his body couldn't move and he couldn't even blink. Watching the thing called hand approach me inch by inch. Beep. A familiar sound of electric current echoed in Chen Yun's ear, and he suddenly sat up, panting heavily. The whole person feels like they have just been rescued from drowning. A few seconds later, he realized that he was still in the memory maze. Suddenly, there was a violent shaking in the room, and a loud noise came from outside, as if it was the sound of some machine gear rotating. Chen Yun quickly jumped out of bed and supported the wall of the room to prevent himself from falling. After a moment, the place of belonging stopped shaking. The cold sound of the system rang out. The frenzy of the memory maze on the second day has begun, the eliminated players' territories have been eliminated, and the remaining players are gathering towards the central area. Is this a shrinking circle? In order to increase interaction between players, this group of testers can think of any method. At this point, the players in the group are all cursing crazy. What kind of place is this rest? I'm not asleep yet, it's already the second day. The time here doesn't feel right. I just felt like I had just slept for a while before being awakened. I'm going crazy, let me go home. I don't want to stay here anymore. Chen Yun saw this information and understood the intentions of the tester. Players have gradually become irritable, so competition will become fierce. Even if they could survive today, without that calming potion, most players might have already suffered a mental breakdown. The red experimenter has already posted the refreshed special map location in the group, so that other experimenters can pay attention to the player's entry. Due to changes in the location of his place of belonging, Chen Yun is not far from several refresh points. With a goal in mind, Chen Yun stood up, organized his equipment, and turned around to leave the room. The location numbered diagonally opposite is still 502. Fortunately, the room has been moved forward as a whole, otherwise this temporary partner may have to be replaced. He knocked on Zhang Qinshue's door. Through the cat's eye, Zhang Qinsue saw Chen Yun and immediately opened the door. Chen Yun flashed into Zhang Qinshue's place of belonging and casually closed the door. Zhang Qinsue was taken aback for a moment, then a smile appeared at the corner of her mouth. The men are indeed the same, and their thoughts are not just about that. She approached Chen Yun and took the initiative to hold his arm, whispering softly. "Little brother, why did you come so late? Did you miss me?" She gave Chen Yun a seductive glance and slowly ran her fingers across his chest. Chen Yun withdrew his arm, took a step back, and said calmly. "Don't misunderstand, there are too many other players in this corridor, it's not convenient to give you supplies outside." He put the cloth bag in Zhang Qinshue's hand, and in order not to expose the space bag, he had already packed the supplies in advance. "Here are the materials for upgrading level 2 wooden doors, as well as a pre-made wrist guard. It's the same today. Can you help me keep an eye on the house? I'll go out and collect supplies, and when I come back, I'll give you a portion." After speaking, he turned around and walked outside. Zhang Qinsue stared blankly at the cloth bag in her hand. Why is this happening? Shouldn't other men have already pinned themselves down as they have already been so proactive? Is there any hidden illness in this man that he can't handle? Chapter 9. Special Map. Gambling House. You are listening at novel-full.audio. Chen Yun, who walked up to the door, suddenly said, "I hope you can understand that we are partners. You help me take care of the house, and I will distribute the supplies to you. It is only natural that there is no need to sell our bodies. These are what you deserve." Chen Yun is not a great kind-hearted person, and his principles in life are also very simple. He and Zhang Qinsue are only in a cooperative relationship and do not want to mix emotions. Only in this way can one avoid being caught as a weak point in this game. For a moment, Zhang Qinsue didn't react and stared blankly at his back. Chen Yun turned around and went out. Someone had already come out in the corridor to collect supplies. Other players saw him whispering to each other. Now Chen Yun can also be considered a celebrity. "I killed 2 people on the first day, and my ranking is the highest." The black cloak behind me fluttered in the wind, complemented by the tang sword in my hand, exuding a master's demeanor. Many people bravely came to team up with Chen Yun, but he refused. Chen Yun did not go straight to the red dots on the map. In order to avoid arousing suspicion from the experimenter, He circled around before reaching the refresh point of the first special map. The venue here is very spacious, with over a dozen players standing there, staring blankly at the quaint wooden door in front of them. No one dares to take a step forward. A pair of couplets are prominently attached to both sides of the wooden door. Losing money is just a passerby, the bottom line reads, winning is the guest of honor. There is a wooden plaque above the wooden door. Gambling house. I don't know what kind of pigment to use to paint these two words, they look like a very eerie red. Chen Yun approached the door and frowned as he looked at the strange room in front of him. There is actually a gambling house in the maze, and this is the refreshed special map. Judging from this posture, this place is not a good place, and I don't know what danger will happen once I enter. More than a dozen players also recognized Chen Yun and whispered about it. Isn't that Chen Yun from number 1000? Judging from his equipment and level, he should have some kind of adventure. There's no such adventure. I guess there were many murders last night, otherwise where did this equipment come from? I see in the group that zombies don't explode equipment. Hey, how did he get in? Is there any rare equipment here? Let's follow quickly. Just as everyone was discussing Chen Yun, he had already pushed open the wooden door and entered the room. Human nature is like this, when someone takes the first step, there will always be other followers behind them. Chen Yun took a few steps inside, passed through a long corridor, and arrived at a wide hall. Above the hall, there are over a dozen old tungsten filament lamps scattered and hanging with black wires, flickering with dim light. There are 5 large round tables in the center, which look very mottled. 3 chairs are placed around the round table. Even more eerie, when Chen Yun appeared in the hall, a blank paper appeared on a round table next to him, with the words, Player 1000 Chen Yun written on it. When the dozen or so players following Chen Yun walked in, different numbers and names appeared on the 5 round tables. The cold sound of the system echoed in the room, startling everyone. Welcome to the gambling house. The number of players is full. Please take your seat according to the number of your place of origin. A dozen or so people, with doubts in mind, found their numbers and sat down. A metallic collision sounded, interspersed with the sounds of human astonishment and screams. Chen Yun looked at the metal strap that suddenly popped out from his waist and pulled it hard a few times, but the metal belt remained motionless. The chair under his body was also firmly fixed on the ground. Chen Yun took out a tang knife and tried to strike the leg of the chair. Damage 0 popped up. It seems that system items cannot be damaged. The people around were also firmly fixed on the chairs, unable to leave no matter how hard they struggled. The sound of the system rings again. The gambling game officially begins, with 10 chips per person. The winner with the highest number of chips per table will receive a reward. The rules remain unchanged, and the number is the winner. I hope everyone has a pleasant time playing. 15 players looked at each other, not understanding what the rules meant. What do you mean? To be clear, what exactly are we betting on? Does the gambling house not even mention the rules? Who is the banker? Can you give me a personal introduction to what situation we're betting on? The sound of gears rotating below the round table interrupted everyone's shouting. An iron square box slowly rises from the center of the table, accompanied by 10 plastic chips appearing in front of the player. Chen Yun looked at a man and a woman face. Player 187 Li Mo is a man in his 30s, wearing a pair of glasses and a filthy suit. When Chen Yun met his gaze, although his eyes were somewhat wary, they remained more calm. In this unknown space, the body has lost its ability to move. Being able to maintain this calm state is definitely a wise person. Another girl and Li Mo formed a sharp contrast. Player 368, Wang Qin, wearing a yellow plaid shirt on her upper body, her long hair was casually tied in a ponytail, her small face was dirty, and she also had a few pimples on her forehead. She was the one who shouted the loudest just now. She kept looking around and her face had turned pale. She occasionally tugged at her metal belt, trying to escape from the chair. Looking at his age, he should be a college student with little experience in the world. Chen Yun withdrew his gaze, and he roughly understood the current situation. This should be for the three of them to make a bet. The iron box in the middle looks like a card trading machine, and since it's a gambling game, there must be rules. Whether it's Texas poker, landlord fighting, or some other form of gambling, there must be a rule. But the system only said one sentence about the rules: what does, numbers are the winners. The sound around gradually decreased, and in the end, only the mouths of the players around could be seen constantly opening and closing, but the sound could no longer be heard. Chen Yun originally wanted to check the situation of other tables, but it was obviously impossible. The rules of gambling rely on gamblers to explore on their own, without even a banker. How could there be such a casino? At this point, before these 15 players could think too much, the game had already begun. 3 words appeared next to the iron box. Public card. Subsequently, a black framed card popped out of the iron box and landed very accurately on top of the 3 characters. There is no decoration similar to playing cards on the card, and 2 numbers almost occupied the entire face of the card. 0, 2, 3 cards popped out of the iron box again, each falling in front of the 3 people. Chen Yun reached out to pick up the card and rubbed it. The touch of playing cards is icy cold, not like ordinary plastic, but more like something like metal. Due to the back facing upwards, the faces of the other 2 players cannot be seen. 34. Looking at the numbers on the card in hand, I glanced at the 0-2 of the public card. How can we compare the size of the playing face? How can one believe that their card value is worth betting on after obtaining the card face? Chapter 10. Gambling without knowing the rules. You are listening at novelfull.audio. For Chen Yun, there is an even more tricky question ahead: what these numbers represent. Chen Yun's fingers lightly touched the table, his mind spinning rapidly. Public cards should be cards that everyone can use. If you don't count the number 0, your deck will only have 3 numbers left. 234. Is it fried gold flowers? That's right, these 3 numbers represent 3 playing cards, which in some places are also called 3 cards. The rule is leopard shunjin jinhua shunzi paizi single sheet. Some things are not right. Chen Yun shook his head. This was not an ordinary playing card, it had no suit. If calculated based on fried gold flowers, there are no smooth gold or gold flowers. There are only 3 leopards with the same number or a card type similar to their current 234, and the rest are pairs and singles. Chen Yun glanced at the group management, but did not receive any useful information. Wang Qing held the card tightly in her hand and said with a trembling mouth, 2 big brothers, do you know what this gambling game means? Liemo glanced at his hand, placed it on the table, and shook his head. We came in together, and the system didn't mention any rules, so we can only play casually. Can we just sit like this? As long as we have equal chips in our hands, we shouldn't be in danger. Chen Yun looked at Wang Qing's bewildered and ignorant gaze, shook his head, and sneered. Don't dream anymore. Do you think the managers here will leave this loophole? Even if we don't do anything, after the monster refreshes, wouldn't we all have to wait to die? Even if the monster doesn't come, we will starve here. Liemo also agreed, little sister, don't be foolish. Although I don't know what the loser will be like, with the style of this maze, I'm afraid there won't be a good end. Let's work hard to survive. During their conversation, a chip in front of them rolled onto the center of the table. The system has already started betting for them. Liemo gave a bitter smile and said, the gambling game has already begun. We don't even know the rules. How about this? In the first game, we'll just open the cards directly. It's just a chip, and the outcome depends on fate. You can also find the gambling rules from it. Chen Yun leaned back and changed to a comfortable position, no problem. Wang Qing watched as both men agreed, and could only tremble and nod. 3 people simultaneously flipped the dark card over. The 11 in Li Mo's hand can form 112-03, in Wang Qing's hand can form 23. The system sounds. Player 1000, Chen Yun, wins. The chips on the table appeared in front of Chen Yun, turning into 12. Chen Yun's eyes flashed with a glimmer of brilliance. As expected, it should be the rule of frying golden flowers, but with some slight modifications. The rule is leopard shunzi paizi 3 singles 2 singles. Li Mo looked at the cards on the table and unconsciously raised the corner of his mouth, indicating that he had also thought of the rule of exploding gold flowers. Only Wang Qing foolishly looked at the cards on the table, clearly not understanding the situation in front of her. After a moment, the discarded cards on the table disappeared and the next round began. The iron box automatically pops up a card and lands it on the public card. 09 Chen Yun picked up the hidden card in front of him and put it back on the table with a calm expression after reading it. This round of luck is not as good anymore. The number on the card is 48. According to the rules of exploding gold, it is already a deck of discarded cards. However, he also found some rules. Public cards should be numbered 1.09, and dark cards should be numbered 1.99. This way, everything can be explained, and the rest of the game just needs to be played according to the rules of the golden flower. Suddenly, Chen Yun saw a square metal block with a diameter of about 1 meter falling from a man's head at the opposite card table. It hit the man directly on the head, and he disappeared as if in an instant. His body shattered inch by inch, and his flesh and bones splattered everywhere. Although he couldn't hear the sound of his bones being crushed, Chen Yun instinctively raised his hand to block the spurt of blood. Chen Yun's anomaly caught the attention of Li Mo and Wang Qing, who turned to look at the neighboring table. The situation of blood splattering everywhere did not occur, and the adjacent table seemed to be locked in a separate space. Blood slowly flowed down the invisible transparent wall, with some minced meat sticking to it. Wang Qing had never seen such a scene before, constantly retching, with no trace of blood on her face, her body trembling and shrinking into a ball, looking like she was about to faint. Li Mo also turned his head and dared not look at the neighboring table. He pretended to be calm and glanced at Chen Yun, but his trembling and pale lips already indicated his current state. This scene was seen by the other 4 tables. Whether the man did not follow the rules or lost all the chips, but is it important? The 14 people present have firmly believed in their hearts that only the winner can walk out of here alive. With the tragic death of the man, the atmosphere in the room has undergone some subtle changes. Regardless of the relationship before entering, the people at the same table have now been regarded as eternal enemies. At this moment, the sound of the system sounded like a reminder. Please ask player Wang Qing to place a bet within 20 seconds. Failure to do so will result in punishment. 1918 At this moment, Wang Qing stared blankly at the table, without looking at the cards in her hand. Her face was still covered in tears from vomiting, and she looked pitiful. But neither Li Mo nor Chen Yun spoke out to remind Wang Qing, looking at the cards in their hands with indifference. When the time reached 3, the sound of the system suddenly increased, which frightened Wang Qing into being clever. She just woke up from her dull state and it took her 1 second to realize that it was time to place her own bet. Regardless of the size of their hidden cards, they hastily threw a chip with only 1 second left in the end. She quickly looked up at her head, afraid that she would be punished and die the same way as that man. Fortunately, the metal block did not appear on Wang Qing's head, and she breathed a sigh. Li Mo threw a chip. Follow the bet. Without hesitation, Chen Yun threw the hidden card on the table and said, abandon the card. He has already calculated the probability of playing leopard and shunzi on this deck of cards. As long as the dark card is a 2-digit number and a consecutive number, there is a high probability that it will be shunzi. With a bit of luck, if the dark cards are a pair, there is a chance to form the largest face, leopard. But the 489 card type doesn't even have the need for gambling. Everyone has similar chips in their hands, and now daring to steal a chicken is similar to seeking death. Wang Qingqiang sat up straight, looking at her hand cards and then at the public cards in confusion. But these are all useless gamblers who don't even know the rules. Can they still win? She bit her pale lips, grabbed a chip, and threw it on the table. It seems like a desperate gamble, completely entrusting fate to luck. Liemo looked at her with a playful expression on his lips, as if looking at a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. Follow up. A chip was thrown on the table.